Hey y'all, welcome back to Mandy's Southern Stitching. We're back again, and as promised, we are going to do a 3-yard quilt. Now, we just finished up with a cat show this weekend, and I got really amped because there were hardly any vendors there. So I really want to get some quilts and some pot holders and some Christmas ornaments, anything cat themed, ready to go for September for the show, the big show here in our area then. So starting on one of the cat quilts today. It's a 3-yard quilt. It's from this book here that I got. It's 1 block, 3-yard quilts. It's one of their newer ones, I think. The date on it is, maybe it's on the back. Doesn't say. Usually they have a date on them. This is one of her newer ones. This is Fabric Cafe, and it is Donna Robertson, Fran Morgan, mother-daughter duo. They own a quilt shop in Texas, and they specialize in these 3-yard quilts, and the patterns, which you just need 3 yards of fabric, a focus fabric, a light and a dark, to make a lap size quilt. They're usually average about 40 to 60 inches, 40 by 60, or somewhere in that range. A little bigger, a little smaller. And we are actually going to be doing Evening Stroll, which is this one right here, as you can see, because I have some beautiful cat fabric that I don't want to cut up too much. And this has a big block in the middle, and then some triangles and squares that surround it. And this 1 block will make this really pretty design on the quilt. So, I can't give you the measurements because this is not my pattern and I'm not allowed to. And so, if you want this pattern, go ahead and get this book or go to their website. They may have some of these as individual patterns, but if it's a newer book, it's mostly going to be in this book. And if you get 3 of their 3-yard kits, you get a free book. So with every 3-yard kit, you get a free pattern of your choice, but you also can get a free book of your choice if you buy 3 3-yard kits, because you can actually make these bigger if you just use the same fabric but more yardage. Let's see. A twin is 2 3-yard kits, and a king queen is 4 3-yard kits. And if you can do 3 in between, if you want something a little bit in between. So, all right, I'll show you. There's a big picture in here. I got to cover up the cutting instructions here. But this is what it looks like. It shows you the layouts and how to make it. And it also has on this side here, it has how to make it bigger. So it's pretty cool. So you're not just limited to a little lap quilt. If you want to use a little extra yardage, you can make a full-size quilt. And some of these, I mean, they're so pretty that they would make gorgeous bed quilts. But we're making just a lap size. And here is the block we're making. Here's my focus fabric, this beautiful bunch of kittens. And then I have this taupey, neutral colored paw print. That is actually my light. And then this is my dark. And if you look on the pattern, get back up here. If you look at the pattern, it's actually, I reversed the light and the dark just because I think it looks better. I didn't want to, because this is kind of, the focus fabric's got a lot of light in it. I wanted it to really be framed really well. So I'm going to show you, I can't, like I said, I can't give you any measurements, but I can show you technique. This is a really easy one. And if you're new to quilting, this is a very easy pattern to do because one, you're just making 12 blocks all look like this. Or you can make more, but you're making just the same block over and over. And how you position it will cause these to show up the way they do. So, first thing we're going to do is make some half square triangles, and everyone gets a little nervous to make the half square triangles, but they're really easy, and the method she uses is super simple. So, what we're going to do is take one of our lights, one of our darks, pretty sides together. Now on this one, this black here, there is not a pretty side. Solid colors generally don't. Some do, but this one is just a Kona black solid. It doesn't have a pretty side, but obviously this one does. So we're putting them pretty sides together. And you line them up so that they're pretty straight. You take a marking pen, you can take a pencil. I wouldn't use an ink pen in case it bleeds through, or a water-soluble ink, or an air invisible ink, disappearing ink pen, any type of tailor's pen of your choice. You're going to be cutting on either side. You're going to be cutting on this line, so it's not going to show up. But just in case it bleeds, I would not use a regular ink pen or a Sharpie or anything like that. So, and what I do is I line it up point to point on my cutting mat, as you can see here. I'm just using the 16 line as a guide, and I'm putting the top point and the bottom point on that line. And then I take a ruler. I use a smaller ruler. This is kind of my go-to. These two here, when I'm cutting just smaller pieces of material or blocks or marking lines, I use these because they're 2.5 inches, which is pretty standard measurement for everything. And then they're small enough that they're not having to jumble this big dude around. I use this to cut my yardage and cut strips and stuff off of with the fabric, but if I'm using smaller pieces, this is my go-to guy. So that's probably a good thing, is to have an assortment of different size rulers. And some you're going to use more than others, but it's always good to have a different assortment because one may not work for one project, but it may work perfectly for 2 or 3 other ones. So now back to our drawing. We're going to draw a line on this point to point on the diagonal on this square, the light colored fabric. So I'm going to take my ruler so I get a straight line. I'm going to line it up on the points. I'm going to use just the Mark Be Gone, the water-soluble ink side, and I'm going to mark a line down the center. And you can do this 2 different ways, but I'm going to do it this way because this is the way I always do it. It's the way I was taught via YouTube, the great teacher, YouTube University, on how to do it. So we'll do it this way, and then I'll show you a different way on another set. So we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of this line. And I don't know if you can see it. Let me turn down my lighting on here. Let's see here. Let's go to settings, brightness. Turn it down a little bit. And you'll probably be able to see it better. Oh, now we're fuzzy. Okay, that's better. And you can see this line, and I have a 1/4 inch piecing foot on here. And I also have this diagonal seam tape that kind of tells me where I need to be putting my needle. this red part here. So, you know, as long as you measure over 1/4 inch, and let's go to sewing. That should work. And I'm going to sew 1/4 inch down each side of this blue line, just like this. And get as close as you can, because if it's too wide, you're going to have a smaller circle. If it's too wide, you're going to have a smaller circle, and then a smaller triangle, and you need these triangles to be a certain length per pattern, a certain size. And so you don't want to go too far out, but you don't want to have to be trimming everything so crazy. Okay, so as you can see, we sewed on either side of that line. You can probably see it better on the black. But there's a line down the middle on the other side. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors, or you can take your rotary cutter. I use scissors. And we're going to cut down that blue line there. And then you have 2 half square triangles. And we'll iron these off in a minute, press them out. But I'm going to show you a different way to do the same thing. So, and this way, you do the same thing. You line it up, point to point on a line. You're going to go 1/4 inch on either side of those points, just like this, and draw your lines. Let's see, I have a 1/4 inch mark on either side on my ruler and on the mat. And you can sew on those blue lines and then just cut in the center. So it's another way to do it. And I've done both, but I've gotten, and if you're just starting out sewing, I would suggest this way, and you sew on the lines. It is an easier way to do it. But if you're pretty familiar with a 1/4 inch on your sewing machine, then I would suggest the other one. It just, to me, drawing one line is a lot easier and less time consuming than drawing 2. And do the same thing over here. And sew on that blue line close as we can. Trim those threads. And then we cut down the middle. Just like that. And then, same thing. Have the exact same thing. I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to press these off. I'll bring you with me. Here's my ironing station here. This Oslo iron was a gift, and it is awesome. I love the feet, just like the one from Missouri. Well, it is a Missouri Star, but I love that, especially when you're pressing a lot of these half square triangles. It's a lot of wrist action to go up and down, up and down. You can just right there. It saves your wrist, especially if you have arthritis like me. So, you need to press to the dark side, and my trick to press into the dark side, let's move this out of the way so you can see, is I put the dark side up, fold over, like this. First, let's hit it with a little heat so it relaxes those threads. Fold over, just like this, and press. You don't want to kind of do this because it could stretch it out if you can help it. But me, I'm just used to ironing clothes, and I tend to do that. So I'll try to be careful, especially when there's bias edges, to not do that too much, because then it'll really distort it. Again, black up, and you hear our friend. She's back. Miss Pumpkin. She'll say hi in a moment. Oh, we got a little duck bill in there. Straighten that out. And yeah, I hear ya. I feel you rubbing on my leg. We'll say hi to the camera in a minute. She's got to get her screen time. Again, black, side up. That way you always press the dark side. And I just figured that out recently. I was wondering, I was like, how am I getting this all wrong? This one kind of went funky on one side, so we're going to flip it over, straighten that thing out just a little bit. So now we got 4. We actually need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 half square triangles. But I'm going to show you what we do for the top and the bottom of the block. Here she is, Miss America here. She actually placed 2nd place in one of the shows this weekend. One of the judges really loved torties, because in household pets, it's all what the judges like and what kind of cats they prefer. So somebody had a soft spot for little muted colored torties. Say, I'm beautiful. What are you talking about? I'm beautiful. Yeah, I'm beautiful. So, Miss Pumpkin had fun at her shows. Now she's hamming it up. And you need to stay off my cutting table because I'm working. But say hi. Say hi. I love you. All right. You may go. All right. So, I'll show you how to make one block. So, half square triangles, it's all within the placement. First, we're going to square them up to the right measurements according to the pattern. This also gets rid of some of the little dog ears. And we just kind of square things up. That one's pretty square. Just cut off these dog ears. Do the same for this one. And we'll just cut off those dog ears. It's a little tough, and we'll cut it off. And then you just always set the ruler down, see if it's 2.5 inches, and this one's almost spot on, which never happens to me. Never ever does it ever happen to me that they just have a little tiny shaving. Alright, so I've got this block as a reference. I always make one block as a reference, that way I don't mess up, because I sometimes tend to not look at the pattern after I've done one block. It's a one block quilt. But you want your 2 black triangles to touch like this to form a larger black triangle. And you will sew those 2 together, and you will repeat that so that it looks like this. Okay, and so you got 2. And they're a little bit off, but it's okay. We're going to trim up the block, so it's not going to matter too much. And let's trim these bad boys. This one's a little big. He's a little on the big side. So let's trim him up. Trim it to the size it says in the pattern. I'm not going to say what size, but if you look at my ruler, you can probably figure it out. Okay. Turn off that little dog ear so we don't have that bulk in our seams. Do the same to this one. This one's a little wonky. He'll work. It's actually pretty dang spot on. Just get those dog ears. And he's pretty much spot on. Okay. And we'll do him the same. And I'll be careful to line these up a little better so that they don't look so wonky. Sometimes I get a little thread nest there. Let's fix that. So my puppy dog. She's doing better. Found out today she is scared of storm drains and trash cans. I can understand the storm drain thing because, you know, clowns and storm drains and stuff. I can understand her being a little afraid for that, but I'm just not understanding the trash can thing. Dogs usually love trash cans. You can't keep them out of them, but she is not having it. She won't walk by them. I have to drag her. I'm trying to, my neighbors were probably thinking I was crazy because I was talking to the trash cans today, being nice to them, trying to let her know that you know, that I wasn't afraid of them, that she shouldn't be afraid of them. I was carrying on conversations with the trash cans saying, hey, how are you doing, trash can? It's my friend, and trying to let her know that everything was okay. And it was just crazy. But this is something we got to work on. So you get this. This is actually, bring a square down. The top of it right here. So you will put it right here like that, just like this one here. I'll press this out in a minute, and I'm going to repeat, and the only thing that you do differently for the two sides is you add a square on each side because it obviously makes it longer when you're adding these. So you add squares on each side here of the paw print fabric, light. So I'm going to stop our video for now, sew up a few more half square triangles, and then I'll come back and we'll put together one more block. And then I'll show you when the quilt top is finished. So I'll be right back. Hi, we're back. Got the half square triangles sewn together, just like our other one. I'm going to press them all out, and then I'm going to add on two of them, two sets, two squares on each end. So grab a few of those. Let's turn on the old iron. I can go ahead on two of them, add the squares while I'm waiting on that, because we'll just flatten them all out. So we get it done here. So you just add it like that on either end. about time for a new bobbin. So I think I got enough to do these two. Okay. Let's see here. Let's put this one on like this. My bobbin thread sensor is not working at all, and then something happened, and now it's working again. I don't know. So let me pop a bobbin in here. Got an empty one. I do. Pop it right there. Let's go ahead and thread one because we're going to need it. This is a real simple bobbin threader. Thread. While that's doing that, I'm going to press these out for you guys. So y'all can just watch my bobbin thread for me. Alright. Press these guys out. New bobbin in. We've got everything pressed. So cut some thread here. I probably could have got further off of it. I'll set it there. And we will thread our needle through the maze that is the needle. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sit down to C6 right here, and go down. Now we have this square. As you can see. There we go. You can see my work table here. We have our kittens. Looks like pumpkins in the middle here. A little tortie. She's got to make an appearance, I guess. So we're going to lay this out like this. These two triangles go on top. These go on the side here. Let's switch all that up so you can see. This one goes on this side. This one goes on the bottom. Just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew the top and the bottom first. So we match it up. You can pin if you feel like it. If you're a first-time quilter, first-time sewist, pinning is your friend. Right now, for me, pinning just gets in my way most of the time, unless I'm doing extra long orders. and I always pin. Or if I need something to really match up to look right. Otherwise, if I'm not matching seams, I don't worry too much about it. I can always trim my blocks down a little bit and just trim all of them the same size. Okay. Now we have that one. I'm going to do the top. This one all done. Press it real quick and then we'll put the 2 sides on. Press it and we will have one more block down. One more to go. Now we're going to put on the right side. Okay. And these longer sides may have to pin. Just go slow. Try not to pull the fabric too much, but as you can see it's a little short on this side, so I've got to kind of ease it in a little bit. Got a little bolt there. Sometimes these bulky seams when people don't want to pass over them. We did well that time. This one here. Pull tightly, but pull enough that we can catch this one. Let's see how we did. Pretty good. Good enough. We can trim that top off if we need to. Alright, we're going to put this one on this side. Always make sure you match them up right. You don't want to put it the other way or it's going to look funky. A little long on this side. Maybe I didn't square them up enough. My seams aren't quite a 1/4 inch. Whatever it is, we'll make it work. Like I said, always a little bigger than it's supposed to be. Always trim it down or trim it down and just trim all the others to about the same size. And lines it up. Press this out for you. There we are. Pretty kitties, framed with triangles. Alright. There we have it. Pretty triangle kitty block. 2 down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this other one on top of it. See if they're about the same size. So the one on the bottom is a little shorter on one side. A little bit. They're about the same size. So you can always square them up if you need to, but they're about the same size. So we have 2. And we will continue doing this until we get 12 blocks. And then we have to cut an outer border and an inner border. Cut an outer border and an inner border to make it that way. You could also, it also covers the binding, but their binding is only 1 1/4 inches. It's a single fold binding. I like double fold binding. I always do 2 1/2. So I don't factor in, if I have a little bit of fabric left over, I just put it in my scrap bin and I just pick a different color for the binding. Because that's just too small, and if you're trying to bind on your machine with a 1 1/4 inch, you're not going to make it. It's just nearly impossible. So, but that's it. That's our 1 block 3-yard quilt, cat quilt number 1. I have 2 more fabrics over here that we'll be using. This one I will be using, I'm going to find a pretty color, bright color to go with it. I think I have 2 yards here. I may have 2 yards. So I may make a bigger quilt out of this. I don't know, or 2, 3 yards. So I need a white. I think I'm going to use a white and a yellow, or just 2 different colors. So that's my focus. And then I also have cats in boxes. I think this one's going to be really cute. And I'm thinking of using the same, because I have another yard of this background, or I have a darker one I can use, and maybe just choose a different, like a white, because there is a lot of white in this one, as the other color, my light. But we'll see. I haven't completely decided yet on what I'm going to do with this one. I just knew that one looked better with the colors that I chose. So, what if you do 3-yard patterns? What's your favorite one? I have this book, and I have a few individual 3-yard patterns, and so far this one's my favorite, because it really, if you have a novelty fabric or something that you don't want to cut up and you want to keep a large print, this is a great pattern to do it. So, we'll see you guys next time. Adios.